Alright, we should now be live. What's up, everyone? Happy Wednesday evening if you're on the West, or I guess East Coast. If you're in the US, it's pretty much evening time now. What's up? How's everyone doing? Okay, we have quite a bit of people in the chat. I think that might be because of my stream title and thumbnail, which is gonna be a very fun stream today. But we got first in the chat. Whoops. Why is this not doing the highlight? Give me the highlight. Let's go. There it is. We got Jason Whitmer with the welcome to the dark side. Is Nvidia the dark side? Is Nvidia the dark side or is AMD? Wouldn't AMD be the dark side because they're red? Kind of like Darth Vader, dark side, and green would be Yoda. And that would be the Force. But anyways, we got Coalition Gaming Chris, who should be at his new job by this point. Congrats on that again, by the way. Chris says shill time. Some people are excited, apparently, for me shilling for Nvidia. What's up, Stang 2007? Let's see. We got some channel membership renewals, which I'm gonna actually play all those. So all the ones that we missed since last week, I'm gonna get those renewed while we kind of go through the intro here and wait for people to get their water, use the bathroom before stream starts. I'll keep on going through the comments. We got Donut Farmer Zero here, Craig Lilly, of course. Let's see, Arflet. Shill on a payroll? Dude. If I could get on Nvidia's payroll, I think that would be a huge victory. Shill or not. I don't know. I don't think Nvidia actually pays any content creators for anything. Like, on payroll, that is. Obviously, they would probably do, like, a sponsor spot here and there, but, like, for active, you know, consistent paychecks, I don't know if that's a thing. We got Citrus in the house. What's up, Citrus? Mod Kevin Go, as always. Stang 2007. We got Mike Levote, who we are going to pull up his comment later on. Zia Bobia. Just Plural. What's up? Got Kale 130. Who else we got? Hazard Me, as always. Mortant 1210. Bunch of people in the chat tonight. Joe Panico, of course. Oh, let me see, Tech Blacksmith is in the chat and with their membership renewal for 10 months. Thanks for the support, by the way. Extreme Zone 987 brings up a good point. How can anyone call me an Nvidia show when I have an AMD card on my PC? Obviously, someone didn't do the research before making that comment. Not only that, but anyone who knows anything about me, not just that I have an AMD graphics card in my PC, but if you've watched my content, you know, over the last year or two, plus the live streams, I've pretty much been pushing people towards AMD cards over Nvidia RTX 3000 series cards. Turk TN says, don't worry, by the end of the video, I'm confident you can change your title to AMD show. Most people thought I was an AMD show before the RTX 4060 review video. And to be honest, it's not, only one person straight up called me a show, but there was quite a few comments who basically were inferring that I was a show. And we're gonna go through the comments because they were a fun read, of course. But we're just gonna chill here and hang out with the chat for a bit while we wait for, you know, people to get to the stream. Kevin Go made the switch from Team Green to Team Red recently. Went from a 2060 Super to a 6800 that he got, I believe, used or renewed on Amazon, which is a pretty big uplift there. And we've got another Mike Barbour says, just switched out my 4080 to a 7900 XTX Red Devil. So that's an interesting switch to me, because I can see people making the switch from one brand to the other when they do a graphics card, like a noticeable upgrade, right? Let's say you've got 2 or 3 gen old tech in your system. You need a new graphics card anyways, so then you decide to buy from the other brand. Like going from a 2060 Super to a 6800, that's a pretty big leap. But for Mike here, going from a 4080 to a 7900 XTX, I mean, the 4080 is a pretty top tier Nvidia card. It's not the highest end one, and it's going to lose to the 7900 XTX. But I just feel like that's, if you already had a 4080, what more were you looking to get out of it that you needed to jump to a 7900 XTX? Like, did you really need that much more performance and was giving up whatever Nvidia has to offer, like, you know, frame gen DLSS and all that? Was that okay? Jason Whitmer brings up a good point, and I think this is basically what a lot of people, they are very easily influenced by other, like, by content creators, which is, I kind of hate the word influencer. Like, I never call myself a YouTube or a PC tech influencer or an influencer. I call myself a tech content creator. I make content, I make videos based on what I feel like making and just giving my own thoughts. But it's not necessarily to try to influence people one way or the other. I know we joke around and I try to, like, shill on for AMD and stuff like that, but I'm never trying to actively influence people that much. I like to lay out the information and people can make the decision for themselves. I don't think, for the most part, like in my content, I heavily try to sway people's opinion one way or the other. I try to, for the most part, stay neutral or biased on things. But yeah, Jason's comment says, no matter what product you are shilling, if it goes against my favorite influencers, tell me how to feel, you are a shill. Kale130 is, what is a shill anyways? To me, I think it would be 100% one company over the other. I think a shill is someone who is overly positive and biased towards a company, pretty much. Like, they see no wrong with them, and even when something, like, even when it goes against the information available, they will still, you know, actively try to paint that company in a positive light, if that makes sense. Inferred shillery, exactly. I always play both to know what is nice. Okay, let's see. Jerome says, what do you think of a Gigabyte X470 motherboard plus a Ryzen 5 3600 for 110? That seems about that seems like a pretty decent deal. I'm not gonna say it's a really good deal just because the Ryzen 5, you know, anything that's not like 5th gen Ryzen is starting to actually come down in price now. And then a used X470 motherboard, those, I would say those are valued probably around 60 or 70 bucks, assuming it's like not a very high end one. So 60-ish bucks for the motherboard, because it's used, of course, right? And then you know, 50 or so dollars for a Ryzen 5. That's a decent deal. Not like a crazy good deal, but I mean, I would pick that up, put that into a budget gaming PC. So let's see. Honestly, there are a lot of keyboard warriors out there whose sole purpose is to troll. The thing is, I don't think a lot of the comments I got were troll comments. They were serious. You could tell what a troll comment is. Like, you can sense the sarcasm. Like, anything Jason Whitmer says, you can tell this is, like, he's a troll comment a lot of times, because that's his sense of humor, right? But as we go through the comments on the video in a second here, you're gonna see that a lot of people are very serious about it. They're not just trolling. People are that gung-ho. There's just so much, like, hate for Nvidia and AMD, I guess, this current generation, which I'm not gonna say it's misplaced or not, but I think you have to look at everything on a case-by-case basis and not just umbrella and just say this whole generation is crap. Well, you can't say it's crap because a lot of people actually do like the RTX 4090 and 4080 to some degree, so there's that. Jeff Zamuda says, I'm so stoked I just got a used 3060 Ti for $250 and you had a 1660. Yeah, that's pretty good upgrade path, as well as a pretty good price on that, so. Norris Redneck says, frame generation and power draw is the only thing that 40 series brings to the table. It also brings AV1 encoding. which to some people they don't care about that, but like for someone like me, I think AV1 encoding. I know I like in the videos I definitely make it a point to say AV1 encoding in the current gen cards is like not a huge deal because so many people are not content creators, they're not streamers and things like that. But I think AV1 encoding for the right audience is very valuable. Like if you were to look at a streamer or a content creator who does have, like, let's say an RTX 3090 in their system, which does not have AV1 encoding, and you offered the ability to magically add AV1 into like a 3090 or 3080, I think people will gladly pay 20 or 30 bucks for it to be able to add it to old gen cards. So you can't just say about things like that, the features that both AMD and Nvidia are adding to the new gen, you can't just say they're worth $0 in any analysis. It is worth something. But we'll get into that more later on in the video. Justin Alexander says, but you influenced me, Heart. I mean, I'm sure I do have influence over some people, but I think as a content creator, it is my responsibility, if I do have influence on people, to be biased in my judgment, so that if they are influenced, they have, fair, objective information in front of them. Okay, Mike just said he was able to sell his 4080 for $1,000. Ooh, did you buy it for $1,200 though? Because brand new 4080s, I have not seen them much lower than $1,200. So you lost $1,000 on it, but then, or you lost $200 on it, but then you bought the Red Devil 7900 XTX for $900. So let's see. At the end of the day, you ended up spending about $1,000, which is about what it was, how much it cost. And yes, the Adrenaline software from AMD is very nice. It is way better than GeForce Experience, solely for the fact that you do not have to log in with an account to get into it. So yeah. Justin Alexander says, my wife left me because I bought a 4080. Turktian says, I like both Nvidia and AMD, though the last several gens, I think AMD is much kinder to mid-range gamers and gamers on a budget, but Nvidia still brings just a powerhouse of performance to the table. I could agree with this take. Yeah, the last two gens, well, okay, we can't talk about the last two gens because the gen prior to the last one, which is going to be Nvidia's RTX 2000 series and RX 5000 from AMD, that was so in the middle of the mining boom and kind of like very affected by the pandemic, that on the tail end anyways, that those cards were really hard to find. Like RX 5700 and 5700 XTs, those were all swiped up by miners, unfortunately. Those were really hard to find, and that would be kind of like the mid to upper mid range. Kirky Khan says, while I disagree with your conclusion about the 4060 being good value, okay, this is the problem right here. I don't think people are actually watching through the video. I've never said in my title or in my video that the 4060 was good value. I said the title was, can the here we'll go to the freaking video. Can the RTX 4060 be worth your money? Nowhere in here does it say it's good value. I'll also play my conclusion right here, but I can't speak much more on them. All right, conclusion. Based on the 1080p ultra resolution on average in raster, and remember, this already accounts for the 8 gigabytes of VRAM that it has in the card. Like, that's baked into the performance numbers, so, we're already considering that, and it's 15% slower as a result. So, if the 6700 XT is considered good value at $320, then by that logic, the 4060 at 15% less than $320 should also be considered good value, right? And that works out to be about $270. 15% off of 320 is 270. So if all you care about is raster performance, just pure rasterization, not any of the other features, then no, the RTX 4060 is not worth $300. It is $30 overpriced. So I think, I don't know, like, here's the thing. If you are not overly negative and completely crap on the card, people perceive that as a positive review. If you watched through my entire review video, I'm pretty sure I'm objective the entire way. As you just saw from the clip I just showed, I just said it was not good value because based on the FPS per dollar of a good value card, what people would say is a good value card, the 6700 XT, to get the same FPS per dollar, the 4060 has to be $270. So I just said it was $30 overpriced. Then later on, I don't even say it's good value, but I make the comparison that while Nvidia does bring all these extra things to the table, so do you think that's worth the $30 because they charge $300 for the card? But somehow people take that as me saying, being an Nvidia show and saying it's a good value card and disagreeing with me and things like that. So yeah, we're gonna get to the comments still, but something like this, Keychron says it should be worth $240 and rename to 4050. The whole thing about the renaming the card thing, I could care less what they badge these cards as. I care about the performance and how much it costs. They could call this thing, we're gonna see in the comments later, but people were saying this should be called a 4030, and I don't think they were being like hyperbolic either. Some people out there are actually so delusional that they think the performance level that the 4060 comes in, it should be badged to 4030. Now, right here, Keychron is saying it's a 4050. I don't really necessarily disagree with that. It could be a 4050, it could be a 4050 Ti, but regardless, even badge aside, I just care about price and performance. Let's see. Jerome says, next to PCs, how's your day been, Danny? My day's been great, actually. Oh yeah, by the way, the 4th of July was yesterday. For the people who are in the US who do celebrate it, sorry about all the international viewers or anyone else who does not care about July 4th. But did you guys all have a good 4th of July? Did people barbecue? Did y'all do fireworks? Did anyone blow their fingers off? For me, Melissa and I, we just grilled. We grilled some shrimp, we grilled some chicken wings, and then we grilled some steak. And then we just stayed in. I went to bed by like, I don't know, 11 p.m. or something. I was in bed by 11. I was dead tired. But yeah, it was just fireworks keeping me up all night, basically. Because people, for some reason, like, you know, setting off fireworks until 2 a.m. Yeah, so let's see. We got people grilling. Chris is gonna post into some stream submissions. Let me see that stream submission post. Where's it at? But then let's see. We got some salmon and burgers. Drove 5 hours to your parents and grilled for them. That's a far drive. Did you at least stay over there? Or did you drive 5 hours back the same day? Oh, let's see if the bot works. Johnny Stash says, hey, you're called on a budget, but what's in your rig? CPU, GPU, RAM, power supply, and case. Did the bot not work? It should have worked. But all of my information is down in the description. So the card I'm using in my system right now is the 6600. Did I update it to say that? At one point I was using the 6600 XT. But I'll just post it right here. You're still at their place. Okay, that makes sense. 5 hours is no joke of a drive. How come this... Come on, why is the bot not working? But I just posted what my specs were. Kevin Go with the Asian food. Okay, so let's go into the comments since I think... Oh, I need to sneeze. Give me a second. Never mind, don't need to sneeze. Okay. So let's go into the comments of the video. So can it be worth your money? So I have a couple of other things I want to bring up. So I also got into it with some people on Twitter as well, which is kind of funny because so far with the discussions I've had with people either in the comment section or on this Twitter thread, which we're gonna go through, and it's gonna be hilarious when we do. I have not been wrong. Objectively, I have not been wrong. A lot of people are acting so strongly on emotion that they're talking without evidence to back it up. And then when I give them the evidence, it ends up them being wrong. So we're gonna go through that, but let's first go through the comments of this fun video. Let's see. So I bought a 6700 XT for $309 at Newegg earlier this month. Much better buy than any Nvidia card right now. Yeah, the 6700 XT for $310, which I believe it's still the case on Newegg. Let me see. In my video, I referenced $320, but it's because there's multiple cards, right? Yeah, see, the reason I did not reference $310, which at the time there was a single card with I think a promotional deal bringing the 6700 XT down to $310, is because I knew it wasn't gonna last. The cheapest right now for the 6700 XT is $320, and then you have the price quickly going up from then. So this is what's gonna happen. Nvidia has now shown their hand. The AMD cards that were really good price, I don't think they're gonna last. All the AMD cards like 6600, 6600 XT, 6700, etc., they're all gonna go up slowly in price because there's just simply not as good competition in the current generation. So that's what we're seeing right here. They mentioned they got it for 310, but we already see that 310 deal gone. But I mean, they're right. I think at 310, 6700 XT is an easy buy. I'm not disputing that. Let's see some of the other comments. So there are a lot of comments that are reasonable. With reasonable comments, I can totally understand. That's completely fine. Like this one talks about the VRAM issue, which the whole VRAM issue, it's all the VRAM limitations and stuff, that's tied into the numbers, and we're gonna take a look at the numbers in a second. But if a card has less VRAM, if it costs less, then that's fine, right? So it's whatever. So here, okay, look at this person. First of all, their name is Nvidia, so they already have a bone to pick with Nvidia. But their comment says, sure, it's worth it at $200. Can we at least within this chat agree that in no reality will a card with the performance level of the 4060 brand new, will that ever cost $200? You can't even find a card that performs as well as the 4060 in the used market for $200. Some people are so out of touch that this is what they actually think. Now, the rest of the comment says, okay, it's a 50 tier die with 50 tier bandwidth and tier VRAM. That's fine. I don't disagree with that. They're even going back. They hate Nvidia so much that they're even taking shots at the last gen of cards. Even the 3060 should have been a 3050. I don't know how many people would agree with this. I think for the most part, the 3060 at the time it was released was pretty well received. Yeah. So Arflet says, just got back. Has there been any fisticuffs? No fisticuffs yet. We're just going through some of the comments. But yeah. I would have said 250 at the lowest, but not 200. Yeah. So for me, I think 250 would be a great price. I think people take my video as me not wanting the card to be lower priced, which isn't the case at all. I don't think anyone would ever complain about lower prices. In the video, I just did the calculations that to be on par with the 6700 XT FPS per dollar, it needed to be 270. And we'll go through the numbers. I'll calculate it in a second here for you. But I think Hardware Unboxed, they said that they would have liked to see. They said they would have liked to see the RTX 4060 at $250 for it to be a great deal. Nvidia is not in the business of trying to give you great deals. They're trying to release cards at as high as price as possible that it is passable. So if you take $250 to be a great price, $270, which is what it should have been priced at, if you're looking at pure raster, $270 would have been like, all right, that's just barely passable to be like at the same FPS per dollar to something that's competitive with it. So I think $250 would have been great. $270 is more like, that's passable. And then $300 would have been like, all right, I need those extra features Nvidia throws in there, and I'm willing to pay that extra $30 for. Floyd Looney says, at $300, the 4060 makes sense, I think. It makes sense to some people. Even I wouldn't say the $300 is worth it for everybody out there. I would say $300 for some people who specifically like the Nvidia features and AV1 encoding, then it makes sense. But if you're just like a pure raster gamer, then it doesn't make sense. Unless you live, I guess, in like friggin' Germany or somewhere in Europe where power cost is actually a lot. Because in the span of a year, you could pay off that $30 difference in Europe, given the 100 watt difference between the 4060 and the 6700 XT. Okay, so going back to the comments though, let's see. I like this comment right here. So again, not every comment was super negative and calling me an effing shill. Like this one says, I'd rather have solid hardware than magical software, which is really, I think it's a really good way to put it, right? Pure raster performance and like the VRAM and bandwidth and stuff like that, that's all solid hardware. Everything else that Nvidia is trying to charge for the 4060, you know, frame gen, DLSS, I guess AV1 is considered hardware, but frame gen, DLSS, I don't know, Nvidia broadcast their suite and everything, that's all software based. They're giving us half for the full price, so that's pretty good. And then some of these comments, I like this comment just because they were the only person who like took note of the fact that I actually tested Blender and Premiere performance. They said, thank you for the Blender/Premiere test. Most people only focus on FPS, so it's nice to see someone thinking of the ones who are more worried about the work. So yeah, I like the fact that they appreciate me. I almost didn't put in the Blender and Premiere stuff because I was like, is anyone gonna care about this? It's just gonna make the video longer. And on YouTube, the shorter the video, typically the better because of viewer retention. So I'm glad at least one person noted, you know, the fact that I put those results in there. This person said they wanted to see PCIe Gen 3 test, which I am working on. I do want to do a Gen 3 versus Gen 4 test because of the limited the PCIe lanes, as well as yeah. This is basically if you have older hardware, which some people might, anything that's like 10th gen Intel or older, or like B450 and older, you don't get access to Gen 4 PCIe performance, and that's where you might take a hit. So that would be interesting to look at. But I wanted to get to, so there's a bunch of comments, most of them saying that the 4060 is not worth it. But I wanted to get to Mike Lavote, which YouTube really makes it confusing now. But we're gonna get to, okay, Dragon 2 Knight. Mike, are you still in the chat? But Dragon 2 Knight is actually Mike Lavote in the chat, and I hate the way YouTube has done this. But this is where we're gonna get into the meat of the calculations here. So yeah, Dragon 2 Knight is Michael. So his comment, and we got to go through the whole comment series here because this is, and I'm not trying to call Michael out because Michael is actually a very long time viewer of mine, long time supporter. I think I looked through my comments. He's been commenting on my videos for like the last 5 years. So this is not to call him out or send any hate his way, but this is the type of reasoning that I go through when I'm talking to some of the people in the comments or on Twitter and stuff. So let's go through Mike's comment. All these cards pale in comparison to the 6700 XT. It's the only real 1440p card, the only one that can work at full speed in the PCIe slot, which is true because it is 16 versus 8, times 16 versus times 8, and then Gen 4 is where that's going to be important. The results you're getting here are very confusing. The 6700 is vastly more powerful than any of these cards. These results you got cannot be accurate. So Mike, longtime supporter of mine, thinks that my results are not accurate. It is not nearly as good as some games as far as some other. So to me, this is what got me the most. So he thinks that my results weren't accurate, which I was pretty confident in my results because I do a fresh DDU like driver reinstall every card I test, which takes a lot of time. It's annoying. I tested 4 cards. I had to reinstall drivers each time, which huge, very annoying. But not only that, I do multiple runs. I do 3 runs per like game per card per resolution just to make sure that I don't have outlier results, that they're pretty accurate. So I was like, wait, he doesn't think my results are accurate? I was pretty sure in checking everything to make sure I didn't mess up. So then I left him a reply saying which results specifically, because I wasn't sure what he thought. Like, did he think everything of mine was incorrect, or was it just the, one game that might have weird looking results? And then, so he says, from what I'm seeing, just about all of them, he thought all my results were wrong or incorrect or inaccurate. I've seen so many 6700 videos comparing it to a 3070, especially later. That's why there's no way the card you use performed as poorly as it's being portrayed here. So he thinks my 6700 XT is just performing worse than it should be. It should smite the 4060, not just beat it barely. To say that it isn't good would be to say that the 4060 can compete with it or even better than the 3070. I'm sorry, Danny, that's not possible. Maybe it was your game selection, maybe your 6700 XT wasn't up to snuff. Whichever it is not normal. Okay, so what we have here is he's very confident that my results were not accurate, or that I did something wrong. So then my response is, I just looked at Hardware Unbox's review. The 6700 XT is only 13% faster in 1080p and 18% faster in 1440p, which is about 15% if you average the two. And we can take a look at that right here. So here's Hardware Unbox's, and let me bring up my trusty calculator. So here is they did 15 game average. So here's Hardware Unbox, much larger YouTube channel than me. So let's take a look at their numbers. If we look at their 4060 versus 6700 XT in 1080p, we have 103 divided by, actually no, I gotta do it the other way around. We have the 4060 is 91 divided by 103. So here you get, did I do that right? 91 divided by 103. Yeah, so here you get about a 12% difference. It comes in at 88% of the performance level. That means it's 12% slower. Let's take a look, but that's only 1080p. Let's take a look at 1440p. 4060 is 61 FPS average divided by 74, and that equals 82, which is about 18%. So if you take the average between the two, 12% slower and then 18% slower, the average between two resolutions is 15%, right? So that's Hardware Unboxed, and I believe Hardware Unboxed's testing is pretty good, and I believe they're considered a reputable source in the community. So my 15% performance difference that I showed in my video and talked about matches what Hardware Unboxed found. So we go back to the comments. So I mentioned this. I said, okay, which is about 15% faster, which is about consistent. Which video are you referring to? Because obviously there are other sources out there, right? So then Michael says, he points out Daniel Owen, which if you guys haven't seen Daniel Owen's videos, he actually makes pretty good stuff. He does side-by-side benchmarking, which I like. So I like Daniel Owen. So when he brought up Daniel Owen, I was like, okay, you chose another content creator that, I trust his things. So I went to Daniel Owen's video, which is a pretty extensive video, and he does side-by-side benchmarking, and he has all the numbers. So he actually gives you the performance difference here. So what I did, because if I'm wrong, I will totally admit to it. So I went through his video, and I took every single one of his results and I put it into a spreadsheet. So we have both 1080 and 1440p numbers here. I didn't have to do this, but because Michael is a very long time viewer of mine, and you know, this was a good conversation that was productive that we were having back and forth. He wasn't just like calling me a shill and stuff like that. And of course, I had to clear my name. I went through and I took Daniel Owen's results. I put down every single result. I back calculated it just so that we could have the numbers for the 4060 and 6700 XT. And then I divided them 4060 over 6700 XT to see the performance difference. And at the end, the average of Daniel Owen's results is that the 4060 comes in at 85% of the performance of the 6700 XT, aka 15% difference. So that's my response. So I said, I'm not sure why you think my game selection, 6700 XT, or anything else I did was wrong. The objective numbers were given in front of you by 2 different reviewers, one of which you just said was the only source that you trust right now. Actually, that's 3 total, because not only me, Daniel Owen, and Hardware Unboxed all came up with 15% performance difference between the 2 cards. So this is what, and again, nothing against Michael, because love Michael, longtime supporter, but I think people are like very clouded in their viewpoints and judgment of the latest graphics cards, because Hardware Unboxed's video title was Nvidia clowned themselves again. I don't think the thumbnails and titles of videos covering the 4060 is reflective of what people actually coming up with the conclusion. Have you seen Gamers Nexus video of it? They were actually pretty neutral in the thumbnail and title, but Gamers Nexus assessment of the 4060 is that it wasn't that it's completely dog crap and you should throw it in the trash can. It was more of like a meh. If you can skip it this generation, skip it. But you know, if you need those Nvidia features, then go ahead and get it. So, yeah, I don't know. I think not a couple, negativity sells. Linus's title was pretty extreme too. Let me see. LTT 4060. What did they say in theirs? Linus's was, I'm actually getting mad now. 4060 review, and then it says, please stop. To me, this is a little bit more extreme than what the actual 4060 comes in at. Yeah, it's about $30 overpriced, but people are acting like this card just released at $400 or $450 or something. It's $30 overpriced, $50 if you don't care about raster performance. Clickbait title sells. Yeah, it definitely sells. And the issue is I didn't clickbait, so then my video completely flopped. I should have just said, this is a POS card or something, but yeah. It was lackluster. I'm not disagreeing with you. It was lackluster, but there's a difference between lackluster / underperform or underwhelming / meh versus this is complete dog crap. But so that was one like pretty in-depth back and forth I went to. I wanted to look at this one too, because pretty much anyone who did not crap on the 4060, they got more negative comments than channels that did, you know, rip it apart. So in terms of channels that kind of gave it kind of like a lukewarm or like just a meh review, it would be like me. Tech by Matt was pretty mad about it too, though in the end he said he could recommend the card to, you know, certain people. I think Czechia City, his take on it was pretty meh too. Not that it was like complete garbage. And then Craft Computing was another one. So I think Jeff was actually probably one of the more positive reviews on it. So Jeff, he tweeted this out July 4th? So this was just yesterday, actually. So he basically said, you know, Craft Computing's latest video is so misguided and stupid. How could he possibly disagree with Hardware Unboxed? And he says, I hear your criticisms and wanted to talk to the man himself. So he actually talked to Steve, and they went through a back and forth where actually Steve came around and said there's nothing wrong with Craft Computing's review. But I also chimed in and said, unfortunately, anyone who did not completely crap on it was met with a ton of negative comments, right? So here's my comment to Jeff from Craft Computing. Someone else decided to chime in. So this person is named Shimeji. So they said, you tried to stand out with your thumbnail and title. Most read that and thought that your review was about, or that's what your review was about. That backfired on you. So apparently, people just read titles and thumbnails and don't even watch the freaking videos, which I think is true because, yeah, my thumbnail was almost an implied positive spin on the 4060, just because I thought it would be a little bit different and catch viewers' eyes. But if you watch the video, you'll see that I was objective about it, right? So then he said 4060 is a flop. It is just not that good of a card. 3060 Ti outperforms it in quite a few titles. That shouldn't be in any case. So then he brings up the 3060 Ti, which I thought was pretty interesting. And I was like, the cheapest 3060 Ti Newegg is $340. Let's see if that's still true today. If we go to Newegg and we go to 3060 Ti. If we look at the price of the 3060 Ti right now, this is a 3060. Don't get it twisted. It's not that. It's $330. So the 3060 Ti, it costs $330 right now. So I said 340 because yesterday the cheapest one I could find was 340. Prices are going up and down, but cheapest 3060 Ti Newegg is $340. I'd hope it performs better. It costs more than a $300 4060. For the 4060 to have the same performance per dollar as the widely praised 6700 XT, it would have to cost $270. And I'll do the calculation for you right here. So the way that works out is if a let's see, a 6700 XT costs $320. If you multiply it by that 0.85 that we said earlier, because it is 15% slower, you get about $272. So that's why I keep saying 4060 at $270, people probably would have been happier with. Because actually they better be happy with it, because everyone is everyone is praising the 6700 XT for being a great value card at $320. If the 4060 was $272, you better say the exact same thing about it, because that is the exact same price to performance dollar, plus it has all those added features on top of it. But that aside, so I mentioned that it costs $30 more, but you know, it has the 100-watt difference. It has better ray tracing, DLSS, frame gen, AV1. You know, like it's that, to me, that's why I don't think it was a complete flop. And then he responds with, that goes to show you have a lot to learn. Dang, this dude's bold. I have a lot to learn, huh? You can easily get 360 or 3060 Ti for around $280. Newegg is not the only price you should compare it to. If you buy it used, it goes down to around $320 or $230 to $260. It barely better ray tracing, and he's saying all the other stuff is crap. This is funny. He says I have a lot to learn, which I actually took quite a lot of offense to, because I do a lot of like research and digging before I open my mouth. Like, I'm not just gonna talk out of my ass a lot of the times, because I do not want to be proven wrong. That is like the most embarrassing situation ever. So I respond to him. First of all, comparing new to used is apples and oranges. Of course you get better value out of used products. You should never look at a new product and say, oh yeah, if you bought a used card instead, you get better value. No, duh. That you don't even need to say that. Anyone who thinks new products should give better value than being able to buy something used, I don't know. There's no like talking sense into you, because there's some inherent values of buying new that you just don't get with used. Even if you don't care about warranty, being the first time owner, all that stuff. Plus, think about where all the used graphics cards came from. You think they just appeared in the used market just like that? Someone had to buy the stuff new for it to appear there. So if people never bought new graphics cards, the used market wouldn't be as like abundant as it is. So give some respect to the new stuff. But anyways, going back to this, there are no, he said you could easily you could easily get 3060 Ti for 280. I took a look. You can't find a 3060 Ti for 280. Not even close to that. What he was referring to was that Best Buy and B&H, they had like a very short sale where you could find it for like $275 or $280. But that's been like, you know, long gone. So then I told him, show me a new $280 3060 Ti. I mean, if you're gonna try to step up to me, you better come with the receipts and evidence. So this is a response. I found this so funny. So he posts this thing, which is a renewed, aka used 3060 Ti for $275, and he says, although it's Amazon renewed. And then he gives an eBay one that's open box, that's not $280, plus it has $25 shipping. And then he says, also listed as new. So this dude basically had to walk back on his comment because he was wrong. He says, AliExpress has some, but So yeah. The only reason I'm being defensive is because I'm trying to be so like very objective about this. I have the receipts. I'm coming with the facts. And people are talking out of their ass. Then when I call them out on it and show them the actual results or asking them for proof, they can't bring the receipts. I can't do this with like all like the hundreds and thousands of people out there who are just completely like making like factless and baseless remarks. But this is just two of the more extreme examples that I just had to deal with in the last few days. So basically I went and said, so I was right. Look, I'm not saying the 4060 is good card by any means. I'm just saying that the PC community has gone off the deep end with it, suggesting it should cost $200 max or it should be badged at 40, 30, etc. It's not hyperbole either. People actually think that. So yeah, that's what you know has been on my mind in the last week or so. So yeah, that's funny, right? JG, right? That ended quickly. Of course it ended quickly. As soon as some of these people are presented the facts and are called out, they have no response when they're proven wrong. Here's the thing. At the end of something like this, if I was wrong, I would say, you know what? You're totally right. For some reason, I thought this or something. I was totally wrong. Thanks for being constructively, you know, having a constructive conversation about it. Michael actually conceded. Michael Levolte, he says, breathe, Danny. He actually left another comment at the end of the YouTube thing. And, you know, we basically had a good conclusion at the end of it. But a lot of people, I don't know, like, not only do they think they are right about everything, when they're proven wrong, they can't admit it and just, like, own up to it. Here's the thing. If you guys present me with information that a 4060 is worth $200 or that it's a card that should be thrown in the trash can, never to be considered ever, then I will, you know, I would gladly own up to it, but I haven't seen any evidence of this. Alucard Sparta says, that one tripped and fell on their own sword. Oh, man. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to read the comments now because I just spent the last 30 minutes freaking going over the browser and two examples of me. I think I went above and beyond to argue my side of the case. And it's funny because I'm not even trying to argue that the 4060 is a good valued card. I'm just trying to argue that it is more of a meh or underwhelming card and that it is nowhere near as bad as, you know, everyone else is thinking. Mr. 7 Digit says, most benchmarks I've seen put it between a 3060, and to be honest, it's more than a 3060. In some cases, it does lose to a 3060, especially the 12GB version when the VRAM limitations becomes kind of an issue. but in most cases it beats a 3060. It just straight up beats it. And yeah, it does lose to the 3060 Ti. So yeah, you can't even, how much, let's look for so we saw that a new 3060, the cheapest, what is it? Is it actually $308? So the cheapest 3060, not highest price. Let's see. The cheapest one is $260. Let's see if the used market is actually reflective of that. RTX 3060. If we look at, we only look at buy it now, as always, because no one's bidding on this stuff. Parts only, parts only. We got a bunch of parts only. We got a pre-owned open box after shipping, so it's about 220-ish bucks. So, but again, to call it a $200 card when it beats the 3060 and you can't compare it to used prices, I think it's absurd. People are ridiculous, man. Oh, we can definitely talk about the AMD sponsored games drama. I have not talked about it yet, but I have talked about it on the Discord for a little bit. And yes, the lowest price ones are 8 gigabytes, and those definitely are not beating the 4060. Yeah. Mike Lavote says, I'm wrong often and I'm man enough to admit it at the end of it. Glad I had the opportunity to spar with Danny on this. I learned how to do the math on some of these reviews and compare them better. Yeah, I think it was a good exercise to go through, just so that, you know, people have more tools in front of them to determine the value of cards. Because not every reviewer is going to straight out say, you know, this is how much percent better than the other and this is how much it needs to cost. So yeah, that was good. Hey Danny, can you look at NVMe prices? Look at some of the higher 4TB ones. Good, yeah. We can actually do that as well. So 4TB NVMe, and we'll just take a look at Amazon because their prices are pretty good. But I'm just gonna try to hang out in the comments for a bit because we were just on the browser for so long talking about the 4060. Nerd battles are always okay. This is a good point here. Nerd battles. I don't know why I was getting so heated. We're talking about freaking graphics cards to use in gaming computers here. It's not that serious at the end of the day. But I think it's because not only was it just that, but it was people. I think that the Twitter comment was worse because the dude had the nerve to say, that shows you have a lot to learn. Like, I don't know. That was such a... To me, that was so condescending, which at the end of the day, why should I care if this dude is condescending to me? It's one random stranger on the internet. But I think it was because it was a part of Craft Computing's thread. And it's not like... I think that this person, they're not as much of like a cesspool comment as like what you would see on Reddit or YouTube and stuff like that. Like, if they were just to call me a shill, it's one thing, but they actually went in depth with, you know, their reasoning on things. So, yeah, I don't know. That's why it made me want to engage more, I guess. At least Danny isn't arguing Pokemon or Magic the Gathering. Between those two, I mean, I never really got into Magic. I have some Magic cards, but never super got into it. Pokemon, for the first 3, it was the base set, then Jungle, then Fossil. Those were the only 3 that I really collected as a kid. But now, dude, there's so many Pokemon sets out, and I think Magic the Gathering, they were pretty consistent, right, with how their cards looked over the years. Pokemon, the cards started to like not look the same anymore. Like the borders and like the stuff, a card from today does not look like a card from when they first came out. And that's one thing I think I don't like about Pokemon. They should have kept like the theme and format of the card consistent, but that's just me. Nerd fights are fun at points. At least the slapping didn't start. Damon Hogue says new gen should outperform last gen. Wait, what? Should outperform last gen equal. Oh, you mean like a 4060 versus a 3060? So the equal tier of a card and cost less, in my opinion. Okay, cost less, I don't agree with, because I mean it can cost less, sure, but it should outperform last gen. Actually, wait up. When it's hard to, when you say cost less, right? Cost less what? Relative to what the MSRP was at the when it released, or at the current price? So technically the 4060, it outperforms the 3060. Even the 12 gigabyte one, it outperforms it on average. And it costs less. The 3060 8 gigabyte released at $330. I don't know what the 12 gigabyte launch MSRP was, but either way, the 4060 came out at $300. So in this statement right here, the 4060 did outperform the last gen and cost less. But you can't just frame it like that, because the last gen also took a price reduction. So it should, that's why I said I don't think it should necessarily cost less. I think it should outperform it, but if you're taking a look at the reduced price of last gen, it should cost the same and perform more, or cost less and perform the same. Basically, it doesn't need to improve in both directions. Improving in one direction is enough. And you know these companies aren't going to give you any more than they have to, like I said earlier. Has there ever been a generation where new cards from last generation held the same FPS per dollar as the new generation? Where new cards from last generation held the same FPS per dollar as the new generation? This is hard to do without laying out the numbers and like on a spreadsheet and stuff like that. Because again, are you talking about the launch MSRP and the launch performance? Or are you talking about the now reduced price? But I think new cards from last generation held the same FPS per dollar. If you're talking about on launch price, the 4060 has more FPS per dollar because it performs better at $300 than the 3060 did at $330. But once you start seeing price reductions because the older cards are 2 years old, you have to like get more into the numbers, which I can't do right now off the top of my head with, you know, like on a stream. Tiers are marketing BS. I guess to some degree it is, yeah. I mean, tiers are there to help you determine the kind of like ballpark of different, like, let's say price buckets, right? Where something is entry level, mid range, upper mid tier, like enthusiast, high end. And I guess as we've been seeing, they've been kind of shuffling them around and not sticking to what I guess the consumer would be happy with, right? Because that's why they backtracked the 3080 or not the 3080, the 4080, and renamed it the 4070 Ti. So Aquatic says 1066 gigabyte was $295 USD on launch, adjusted to inflation. I mean, I think most of the 60 tier cards launched at around $300-ish. And yes, I think you do kind of have to adjust for inflation. If you don't adjust for inflation, then you start getting to the economics of things, right? People are saying you don't need to adjust for inflation because they're seeing record profits. Yeah, they're seeing record profits, but Nvidia's job isn't to give good deals to us as like PC users. They're there to make the shareholders happy. So as much profit as they can squeeze out while getting away with it, they're gonna do. Which, I mean, obviously, as someone who's a cheap ass, I don't personally like that. But being objective about it, again, I don't think that just automatically means the 4060 is complete dog crap. $4050 allegedly has 6 gigabytes of VRAM. I've actually not even looked up any leaks on the 4060. Dude, let's see. Leaks. Let's see. Okay, what do we have? Anything in the news? Yeah, I haven't seen. So there's nothing since like March, a month ago. Is there no new leaks on the? Let's see if we can find anything. Tech Power Up, and they have been wrong about things. So Tech Power Up has a 4050 listed with these specs. What the heck? 96-bit bus width? Okay. Tech Power Up was wrong about the 4060. I went on Tech Power Up when I was putting together the information in my video for like the overall summary screen of the specs. Tech Power Up had the 4060 wrong. So they might have the 4050 wrong here too. So until we get hard proof of what the specs are, I would just hold off on judgment. What was the 3050 again? What was the... Okay, yeah. So this is why I would kind of consider BS. There's no way... I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see them going from a 8 gigabyte... We know they're like being stingy on video memory. I don't think they've been so stingy as to, for the same tier of card, reduce the amount of VRAM. They've only ever kept it the same or increased it. They never straight up just reduced it. So I do not see this coming in at 6 gigabytes, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I know, Shane, I know. I know it says the data may change. I'm just saying that they were wrong before. And it's funny, like, where did they even get this information from? I'm just saying, do not take this as like, because I would say Tech Power Up is a very reliable source, but stuff like this, where they give you a clear disclaimer, yeah, do not take this as like, you know, as being 100% true. I'm pretty sure AMD will beat the 4050 with their 7500 XT. Okay, the only issue is that both the 3050 and the 3050 and what is it, the 6500 XT, those both were very underwhelming last gen, and they had issues with, you know, they had to basically be PCIe Gen 4 to get their full max performance, and then their PCIe lanes like slashed. So I'm very curious, because they did get a lot of backlash from that, from not only the reviewers but the community, if both Nvidia and AMD are going to learn and not trim down these cards as much, but we'll see. You're hoping the 7500 XT will have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. What was the 6500 XT at? It was 8. Oh, oh yeah, it looks like there's 2 versions, right? So yeah, hopefully they don't do well, I don't see the point of releasing 2 variants of it, but yeah, I mean, if they had it 8 gigabytes in the last gen, again, I don't see them cutting it in the upcoming gen. They might have 2 variants, and then no one's gonna buy the 4 gigabyte one, but yeah. Johnny Stash says, shouldn't your rig specs in the description say 4060 instead of 6600? No, I'm actually, I'm going to do kind of a rig update. And I'm actually going to put in the Intel Arc A770 and use that for a bit. Just to, well, because one, that has AV1 encoding, which I know I could throw the 4060 in there, but I want to give Intel, like, you know, a fair shot. I want to use it for a good amount of time, see if I run into any like driver issues, you know, crashing, stuff like that. Because Intel, if you notice, I didn't show Intel cards at all in the 4060 review because I don't think it even really competes with it. It's the Intel cards are kind of weird. The price versus performance, especially now with all the new gen cards having AV1. The one thing that Intel had over Nvidia and AMD prior to the newest cards being released was that it had AV1 encoding. And now that that's gone, what incentive is there for people to get Intel cards unless they are very cheap? But Intel cards are not very cheap. Let's see, Arc A770. The cheapest A770 is... so it's the 8 gig version, which... So, it's like the same price. But, I mean, come on. This comes in at... Now I kind of wish I tested the A770 against 4060, because at $10 more, I guess you get a $20 off here. But without the promo code, it's basically the same price. But I don't think it comes in at more features or performance. And then look, the next cheapest A770 is this $400 one. So it's kind of hard to recommend this. And then they're going to stop making this limited edition A770, the Intel version. So then if you go to A750, the A750 is actually, I think, pretty cheap. I think this is like, what, $250 right now? Not open box one. You got a Sparkle one. And then you got the Intel official one for $250. So, I mean, at this price, can it compete with the 7600? Not really, because this is even worse performance than the A770. So yeah, Intel, I think Intel is doing fine for this being their first like gen really of gaming cards, like consumer range gaming cards. But we're gonna have to see what they come up with either on the refresh or on Battle Mage to see if they can continue doing business really. Because if you look at it on Steam Hardware Survey, which isn't, you know, the most accurate source, but it's the only source we have. Steam Hardware Survey. What do we got here? Steam Hardware Survey. We got... The funny thing is that... So the breakdown is right here. Let me zoom in so you can see it better. So we got Intel at... So between these two, what is that, 5? So Nvidia has 5 times as much of like representation, 75-ish versus 15. And then from that, AMD is still almost twice as much as Intel in terms of representation. So yeah, Nvidia is almost 10 times as much as Intel. But if we click into here, you know what the funny thing is though? This 8.66% from Intel is not the ARC cards. They're not ARC A770s, they're not ARC A750s. They're not even ARC A380s. They are Aorus XE integrated graphics. They are integrated and mobile graphics. I don't even know if the here's more mobile or HD graphics. Intel. It's funny because for whatever reason the integrated graphics is broken down to like the Haswell, Ivy Bridge. Do ARC cards even make their name on this list at all? Doesn't look like it. Intel Ultra HD for the win. The chat loves it. But yeah. So let's see. Why were we talking about that? Joel Peters. Did you change your... What was your name before? Oh, it's Joel, right? But now you use your name. Okay, looking at general pricing. Wait, what is Joel talking about? You're on mobile, don't have a lot of data. You're on your way to pick up a 3060 Ti from your friend. Want to know if I should sell your Ultra 270 for... What you should sell it for from EVGA? 2070 to a 3060 Ti. That is... not... Why... Joel, I feel like you've upgraded graphics cards very frequently in the last like half year or so. Didn't you just recently get to that 2070 and now you're already upgrading to 3060 Ti? And that's like a partial generation jump too. It's not even like a full one, like as if you went with a 3070. So I guess regardless, you're already doing the deal. Maybe you got a good deal from your friend. But 2070, how much? Okay, so I mean, I always have to reference like the market. I don't know everything off the top of my head, but I do like to play the guessing game. So you guys should play along with me before I look this up. What do you think a 2070 non-super, and I don't care that it's EVGA XC Ultra or whatever, but how much do you think a 3070 or 2070 costs right now on eBay? Buy it now in working condition. If I had to guess, let me see. Oh, this one's tough. I mean, I would guess 180 maybe? 180 to 200 bucks. I don't think it's 275 KL. I think that's too much, but we'll see. So RTX 2070, non-super. I'm thinking 180 to 200, but we'll see. So we'll have to, let me do this. 2070. Okay, we got this here. And then we gotta go to working condition ones, not broken. Okay. Let's see, lowest price. Right here, boom. So I know you have a different one. So here's 185. This one is 175 plus 10 shipping. This one was free shipping, so that's also 185. So yeah, so I was in the right ballpark of it. But if you wanted the XC was it the XC Ultra you said? If you wanted the XC Ultra specifically, those ones look like they're a little bit more 210. But this is eBay, so if you're gonna sell it locally and you have to convert to CAD, I would say like anywhere from 190 to 200 is a fair price for your 2070. John says, Danny, just bought an MSI Mag Velox 100R off Facebook for 45 bucks. Let's take a look. You just bought this case? Wait, what? 100R? Did you buy like a full PC or you just buy the case? Because it looks... oh wait, no, this is... Okay, no, okay, this is just a case. It's not like... I was thinking like that was the name of the full pre-built. I wasn't sure if they showed the case separately. 45 bucks? Pretty nice. I mean, yeah, this is pretty sweet. Oh, heck yeah. This case got hinges. Look at this. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's got hinges. You're gonna see... so I have a case review coming up this weekend. And this is one of my biggest talking points about a quality versus not quality case. Cases that actually like put effort into how they attach the side glass panel. It is one of my like biggest things. If you cheap out and put 4 thumb screws through the side glass, that's like my biggest turn off / pet peeve in a case. But when you do things like the ball socket pop-in or like a hinge side panel, oh, you get my seal of approval pretty quickly there. Hey, what's up, PC Tech Hustle? Good to see you in the chat. No handles, yeah, but most cases don't have handles, so unfortunately, you know, I can't say that. That can't be a negative, right? Like 95% of cases don't have handles, so I can't use that as like a... as like a big negative do not buy talking point. I've learned that hinges and handles are seal of approvals. I mean, it's kind of weird though, right? Because most people, when they build a PC, that's it. They build it and it just sits there until they upgrade it, maybe once every year or two, or when they take it apart to move the components. So it's not like people are taking their side panels on and off, on and off. I guess maybe if they deep clean it, they would, or if they like blow out the dust, it would help. But you don't do it that frequently. But still, I feel like for whatever reason, even though it's not something that you remove that often, it is like a huge like bonus brownie points for me to have that on a case. Someone did that? We took a look at that on stream not too long ago, or maybe it was long ago. But someone did put wheels on their case, and then they put on like a retractable handle, so it looked like a luggage. Which for me, that's not practical, because I would never want to drag my computer on the ground over bumpy rocks and stuff like that anyways, and cracks on the sidewalk. I don't mind carrying it with the carrying case. When you're rolling it on the ground, because, you know, outside it's very bumpy on asphalt and sidewalk, it's just like it's just gonna vibrate and you know, stuff like that. So that's more like a meme, customization you would do, mod. Shane Essex says, I think handles for ITX is good, but not a must-have. I mean, definitely, I agree with you. For ATX, it's kind of a bit much, but I think micro ATX and ITX handles are very, very good. So, oh, snaps. Okay, we just got a super chat. Hopefully it's going to pop up here. Game Over Joey says 7900 XTX or 4080. I'm torn. Please help me. So, you donated $10, which I really... First of all, thank you for the super chat. I'm sorry I didn't answer your question earlier and it made you feel the need to donate. But hopefully you donated not only to get your question answered, but also because you wanted to support the channel. But between these two, okay. Game Over Joey. We're going to answer this for you right now, and we might bring in the whole community to do so. How much are you seeing each of these cards for? I don't know where you're located. I don't know what you have access to, but what is the prices of each of the two cards? I can't answer this without knowing that. And yes, we are going to run a poll, Kevin. So, but first we need to know the price. Before we run the poll, we need as much information as possible. We need to know the price of the two cards. Yeah, so once we get the price, also, what is your use case? Are you a purely gamer? And the next question is, and I think it answers it pretty much, is do you care about ray tracing? Do you care about ray tracing? Do you use DLSS? What are your thoughts on frame generation? I think those are all pretty important. Oh, so $200 price difference. Okay, so that's a big price difference in my opinion. So between these two cards, it's $200 price difference. But again, some people will actually turn on ray tracing. I'm not one of those people. I do not buy a car. I could care less. They could remove ray tracing. I do use FSR or DLSS when it's available. So to me, that's actually worth something. I don't do Blender, but if you do any Blender work, or if you ever plan to do Blender work in the future, that you pretty much have Nvidia there. So, gaming, streaming, no ray tracing. Okay, now within gaming and streaming, both of these, to me, both of the cards are, their encoders are good enough. Like whether it be the AV1 encoder or just NVENC versus AMD's their in-house encoder. The question is, have you ever used Nvidia Broadcast? Because that's something that I know I don't talk about all the time in my videos, but RTX voice for the noise cancellation or reduction. I think AMD is still working on like a noise cancellation thing, but because Nvidia is they're like so gung-ho on AI, I think like as a streamer, an Nvidia card could make more sense. So let's see, gaming over streaming, no ray tracing. But with the streaming side of things, I'm gonna admit that aside the encoders, I think both brands or companies are equal. But Nvidia, with their like Nvidia broadcast, the tools that they have for streamers and the tools that they're gonna be, further producing and releasing, it does have a leg up on AMD. Do I think that's worth $200? No, not necessarily, but it is something that we should talk about. Yeah, Nvidia. Let's look at Nvidia broadcast, because it's something that let's see, what do they have here? Nvidia broadcast, noise and echo removal. We've seen this before. Let me see. I think Barnacules did like the best example of it. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here it is.
Okay. So I can't even hear myself talk right now. Just to let you guys know, it's so loud, I can't even hear my own words as I'm yelling into the microphone. I'm going to enable the effect. Wait for it. So now the effect is enabled right now. I can't even hear myself. Even if my audio quality sucks, the fact that you guys can hear what I'm saying when I can't even hear myself is...
Yeah, so this is a really extreme example, right? You're not going to have a leaf blower next to your face and next to the mic. But it's crazy how good their like noise reduction and like external sound removal is. For streamers, I don't know how important this is. Maybe you already have a quiet environment, but this, I think, it's pretty cool. I wish AMD came out with their solution for it just to see if it can compete with it. But there's the virtual background thing, and again, there are non-AI solutions for stuff like this, but those are always going to be super limited. With the AI solutions, it's only going to get better and smarter. Then auto framing, this is another thing. So what I'm getting at is, oh my god, I sound like an Nvidia shill, don't I? I even have my GeForce hat on right now. The title of this stream is True. I have become an Nvidia shill. No, not really. But you see where I'm getting at? The issue here is, game over, Joey. Once you make a decision, you cannot add these things on later. Like, once you choose the AMD card, there's not gonna be really, like, any, I guess... No, I take that back. The AMD might come out with solutions for, like, these streaming features, but I don't think they're gonna be AI based, just because the card architectures is not like Nvidia, where they actually have like the tensor cores and stuff that is focused for AI specifically. Nvidia has a huge leg up on AMD right now in terms of the AI side of things. So, what have you said anything so far? So, all that being said, the eye contact thing was also pretty freaky. So if for whatever reason you wanted to make it look like you're always looking at the camera while you're looking at your screen or reading off something to the side, the AI is, it's another level that you're not going to get, and you can't change your mind and go back afterwards without losing money, because then you have to sell your card, eat the cost of that, and then buy the Nvidia one if you change your mind. But we're going to ask the question now. In terms of my recommendation, I'd say, given your situation, it sounds like you would be okay with the 7900 XTX. It gives better raster performance. You don't care about ray tracing, and all these nice streaming features, they're not necessary. I don't even have all these nice streaming features, and I get by just fine, right? So my personal recommendation is, especially if money is tight, or if money is like, not infinite for you, which that's the case for most people, $200, you could put that towards so many other things. You could get almost a 4 terabyte SSD. You could buy so many other things with $200, or just apply it to other aspects of your life. So I think, I don't know, maybe most people in my stream and community and chat, I think most people do lean on performance from AMD. Your CPU is the 7800 XTG. Okay, so that's another good reason to go AMD then, because I mean, Smart Access memory and resizable bar, they're very similar, but I think with Smart Access memory, you do have a slight little bit more of a boost because it is AMD took resizable bar and did a little bit of extra stuff to it, so that if you do pair AMD and cards and CPU together, you get a tad bit more performance than just, you know, using resizable bar via Intel's side of things for the CPU. So that's another benefit we're adding on top of it. So it sounds like the 7900 XTX would be the card of choice, given that you have an AMD CPU already. You save $200, which is, again, Magnus says it's a month worth of food, depending on how many you have to feed. And you get the better raster performance. NVIDIA's side of things is very, again, feature-based or feature-reliant. The ray tracing, the frame generation, the DLSS, the broadcast software, that's not raw performance. That's just like side bells and whistles. Jason Whitmer says 4080. So if the 4080 dropped to $999, that changes the whole conversation. I don't think it's that cheap. Let me see. Price drop. WCCF Tech says available for just, okay, where at? The thing about these articles is I don't want them to be writing these articles if there's only one card available for that price. Okay, so there's a promo code, so this is a temporary deal. So we see a price reduction to $1,100 with $100 off. Huh. Can we actually find that? Let's see if we can find that, like, actually. Yeah, it is available right here. The deal is live. So, I mean... Also, okay. Guys, the whole VRAM thing. 16 gigabytes of VRAM. What's it called? Game over, Joey. What resolution do you play at? I guess we didn't get an answer to that. Even if you do play at 4K, I don't think the 16 gigabytes of VRAM is an issue, honestly. 4K, not many cards are able to even play at 4K Ultra, so you're likely turning the settings down to like high or very high, and at that point, the VRAM isn't going to be an issue. Like, having 24 gigabytes of VRAM, to me, is overkill. The 7900 XTX cannot run everything in 4K at the most ultra settings on the most difficult game at good enough frame rates to even play at, to make use of the 24 gigabytes of VRAM. And you talk about future-proofing and stuff like that, but I don't like the future-proofing argument, really, because as we've seen, the 12 gigabytes that the 3060 has doesn't mean squat if the performance isn't there to back it up. The 8 gigabyte 4060 still beats the 12 gigabyte 3060. So for all the people who invested in the extra 4 gigabytes of VRAM, paying more for the 12 gigabyte 3060, the card that came out after it with less VRAM still beat it. It's not like it future-proofed it to the point where it made a dramatic difference. Spurio says Cyberpunk Overdrive 4K, which is pretty, that's like the crazy new thing that they released, right? Doesn't even use 16 gigabytes of VRAM. So yeah, the whole VRAM issue, I've already talked about it. I think it's blown way out of proportion. Yes, VRAM is important, but just because a card doesn't have enough VRAM doesn't mean it's just gonna completely like blow up or have like 0 FPS in games. Now we saw that in The Last of Us, they did have issues. Hardware Unboxed made a really good video covering, what was it? It was the 6700 XT versus the 3070, 8 versus 12 gigabytes of VRAM. and the 3070 was stuttering. But I don't completely blame that on Nvidia, because The Last of Us released a patch soon after that backlash, and then the 3070 ended up performing just fine after the fact. So part of it is on the optimization from the developers as well. I don't think games being released are just gonna completely be like single digit 1% lows if cards don't have 24 gigabytes of VRAM in the future. If there's any problems, they're gonna get it worked out on the software side of things, whether it be graphics card drivers or game patches and updates. Yeah, so Game Over Jory, you play for... So, it gets back to the point of my video, which was, between the two cards, we know that the 4080 performs worse than the 7900 XTX. But were those other features that I named off to you worth the extra $200? And it doesn't sound like it is for you. So the $1,000 7900 XTX... Well, now they're both $1,000 though. See, the 4080 for $1,000 with this promo code, or the 7900 XTX for also $1,000. You get better raster performance from the AMD card, but I think between these two, what's the poll looking like? All right, we got a 70-30 split with 70% of the people. We're gonna rerun this poll. 70% of the people think this $1,000 7900 XTX is the better deal. We're going to end that poll. Now we're going to ask the exact same question. Let's see, 7900 XTX. I think this should be closer. I think people are lying to themselves. If we get still that same 70-30 split, I think people might be lying to themselves. Because regardless of having worse raster performance, at $1,000, the 4080 becomes much more compelling than it was at, you know, 1200. I'm not saying it's a better pickup than the 7900 XTX, but it should come in a lot closer in terms of the votes. But we'll see. Bundy714 said, "What's up, Danny? Just starting channel today. Love it." Awesome, Bundy. Welcome to the stream. We do this every single Wednesday, but then I also release a video about every single week. If I could ask, how did you find my channel today? Which video was it? I'm just curious. But yeah, for the most part, you probably know by now the channel content is PC related stuff, and the streams are also PC related stuff. Today, we're talking about why I am an Nvidia shill, or why I am not an Nvidia shill. But yeah, 24 gigabytes still is plus for future gaming. I don't know if I agree with this. The future of gaming is gonna need a more powerful card, VRAM aside, than the 7900 XTX. Like, games are gonna get so ridiculous that even though you have the VRAM, the 7900 XTX, just like the raw, like the cores, clock speeds, and things like that, those are not gonna be able to keep up. I think in the case of the 7900 XTX, the VRAM is way more overkill than what the actual specs of the card is delivering. You're gonna see later on in the future, Nvidia's like 1 or 2 generations from now, Nvidia may not even be at 24 gigs of VRAM. They might be at like, I don't know, like 20 or something, and their cards are still gonna wax the floor compared to the 7900 XTX. Ransack says, "I noticed a lot of Nvidia hate is going around lately." Yeah, people are not happy with Nvidia. They're not really happy with AMD. Well, okay, we gotta talk about the whole AMD thing. People are just not happy in general, right? Like, and Nvidia screwed up with their like underwhelming cards being released at these prices, and then AMD had the most recent screw up, which someone asked me to bring up earlier on the stream. Let's see, DLSS, was it Starfield? Starfield, AMD. where's the news articles on that? So Dexerto. Okay, what up? AMD Starfield deal block. Eurogamer. I'm trying to find a source that I'm more familiar with. Oh, TechSpot. This is basically who wrote this. Okay, this wasn't Steve, because TechSpot and Hardware Unboxed kind of are linked because of Steve. But has Bethesda agreed with AMD? So AMD, if you guys didn't know, is sponsoring Starfield. They're working very closely with them, and people are speculating. I don't think there's any proof of this, but there's more of a lack of comment from AMD, which is making people think it's true, that AMD is not allowing Bethesda to incorporate DLSS as a feature in the settings in Starfield when it releases. There hasn't been like 100% proof of like this being the case, but it's inferred, right? So what are my thoughts on this? I was never really happy with Nvidia having DLSS being exclusive to them and DLSS in games being exclusive to Nvidia cards. Not only exclusive to Nvidia cards, but exclusive to certain generations, RTX 2000 series and up. Only the last 3 generations of Nvidia cards can make use of DLSS. But FSR, on the other hand, you could use it going... Dude, I had FSR options when I tested the HD 7850. It was there. FSR is not only available to all 3 major manufacturers of graphics cards, that being AMD, Nvidia, and Intel. It spans back many generations. So Starfield is definitely going to have FSR, and I'm not too butthurt about DLSS not coming to Starfield. People are saying that's anti-consumer of AMD to be blocking it, but I think it was already pretty anti-consumer of Nvidia to have a feature that is locked specifically to their graphics cards, like DLSS, that you can't use on anything else. If anything, there might be mods for Starfield, kind of like wasn't it there were some games, I forgot what the title was, but there were games where it didn't have DLSS, and I think modders were able to add it into the game after the fact. So that might be the case here with Starfield, or if there's enough backlash, AMD might... Again, we don't know yet. AMD might not have said anything to block DLSS. So I can't say, oh, AMD might walk back on their decision on this, because we don't even know if it's true or not. It's just assumed at this point. Bundy, you found it. Okay, you watched the Zach's Tech Turf PC Undercover, and then that's how you watched it. Okay, gotcha. And saw you were driving a Yaris, so figured you needed to sub, lol. Exactly, bro. The Yaris, though, awesome. If they kept making Yarises, I think they stopped making them, or they're gonna stop producing them. So I would buy a new Yaris for my next car. I freaking love it. Very compact, easy to park, hatchback, so I can still fit a ton of crap in it. Toyota, so lasts forever. I mean, come on. How can you go wrong with that? Also, a pretty dinky car, so no one would really want to steal it. If you have a nice car, people are gonna, like, you know, it's more likely to be stolen. Jason says, why would AMD do this to Nvidia? Nvidia has been nothing but good to us. I know, right, Jason? I mean, come on. People need to straight up support Nvidia all the way if they could. Not shilling for Nvidia or anything, but, you know, people are making a lot of assumptions. I think a lot of like the tech news outlets and channels are running with it because it's a hot topic. It gets people fired up, they get riled up, and it's very click worthy, right? There's a lot of drama surrounding it. So covering it and, you know, kind of having to make assumptions, though covering yourself saying that it's still assumed, it's good for the views, it's good for the clicks, it's good for monetization. So I can see why people are doing it. I don't blame them, but I think the response of the community is also like there's some responsibility there if you're a viewer to take the information as it's given and not further push it or not further make assumptions. Drama does sell. Jason, thank you for the compliments. I don't get to wear this too often because if I wear this in public, people will know my true colors and which company I truly support. So I only wear it on special occasions like on this stream. Was my guy says a lot of confusion with DLSS on Starfield Reddit. Some people believe FSR won't work with Nvidia cards, and others just don't know that it won't help anyway with the CPU bound game. Yeah, I'm curious, like, people do realize FSR works on everything, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone here does because we already just talked about it. But I'm curious if some of the outrage from specifically like Team Green people, if it's because they've never like tried using FSR, or if they don't realize it's a feature that is also available to their cards. Exactly, Nvidia show confirmed. Only using AMD GPUs to throw us off his scent. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to the poll, which more people voted on. The end of this poll is, which would you rather buy? Given that the RTX 4080 is now $1,000, even though it performs worse in raster than the 7900 XTX, and it has less VRAM, people in this stream right now, people voted more for the RTX 4080. Game over, Joey. Are you still there? Does this influence your opinion at all, or are you still gonna go all in on the $1,000 7900 XTX? Honestly, at $1,000, I think it's like pretty equal. Depending on what you need, there's a good argument to buy either the 4080 or the 7900 XTX. Yes, chat our Nvidia shows now. Now that after the price reduction, they've now voted more for the 4080. But yeah, I think you can go either way and you won't make a wrong decision. Because I sold you on it? What? Okay. I think earlier Extreme Zone asked me to look at some SSDs, which 4 terabyte NVMe drives. Oh man. Just a quick question to chat. Do you buy... So there's like multiple tiers, right? So this is gonna be a new poll. So in terms of SSDs like you have in your systems, I probably... Oh no, what happened? Is the poll gonna run? Yeah, the whole VRAM thing, it's very interesting. Because it came out that it only costs like $25 or something like that, right? If they wanted to double from 8 to 16 gigabytes of VRAM. But you can't just take the raw cost of materials as like, oh, they should just do that and increase the card's price that much. It still has to fit on the PCB. They still have to design around it. That's gonna have minor effects on, like, I guess the power draw by a little bit. Still, it's not as simple as add $25, double the VRAM. There's more that goes into the design and everything like that. I don't know how much it actually costs for them, but I think now they're gonna think a lot harder when probably not in this generation. They're gonna flush out this generation with whatever, but next gen they might be more considerate as to how much VRAM they put into cards. Okay, this poll did not run. What? Why? Give me 1 second. I need to refresh the stream. Okay. Start a poll. Do you tend to buy? Alright. Dude, it's... Okay, polls are working. So, which SSDs do you guys tend to buy? So, you have stuff like, you know, like the... Not... I guess the Western Digital one. This is actually pretty expensive. $300 for 4 terabytes. I know it doesn't sound expensive, but... I mean, look, you have 4 terabytes for $283 here, and then this one's for $184, so that's $100 less. But if we go sort by lowest price, which is my favorite thing in the world to do, Game Over Joey with the channel membership join. Thank you, Game Over Joey. I appreciate that. Hopefully, we help you pick a graphics card. You're torn. You're leaning towards a 4080 now. Here's the thing. Any card that you choose, I think you're gonna be making a good decision, and you're gonna be happy with the card that you get. Any performance, like, because you said you did play story-based games too. Frame generation, which is something that you're not gonna get with AMD, enabling frame generation can help make up some of that performance difference between what the AMD card and, you know, the Nvidia card. And you said you're into streaming. I think if you get the 4080, you're gonna be very happy with Nvidia's suite of their broadcast software. So yeah, if you're going with the 4080, I fully support your decision if that's what you wanted from me. I'm not gonna try to like change your opinion. I would easily, for $1,000 to like my own close friends and family members, I would recommend either of the two cards. So I don't think you'll be making a wrong decision going with either of them. But going back to the whole SSD thing, oh gosh, Amazon. I said 4 terabyte NVMe's and you're showing me this garbage. What is the cheapest SSD? So if you get 2.5 inch, you can get like, look, 4 terabytes for not even $150. That is so dirt cheap. You could throw one of these in your systems and be good for a really long time for anything you need to do. I've only recently started to buy 2 terabyte SSDs for my like own personal system and my test bench and stuff. My old cap was 1 terabyte. I was like, you know what? 1 terabyte's enough. It's just kind of too expensive. But now 2 terabyte SSDs. Let's take a look real quick. 2 terabytes. I just bought the Intel 670p. So 2 terabyte, you can even get like Samsung 980 Pros. This is a Gen 4 NVMe drive. You can get them for as low as $100. But me, I went and got the where's the 670p at? I recently bought this and I put this in my own personal system because I just need it for a storage drive. But I bought this one right here, 69. Nice. Yeah. For me, PCIe Gen 4 versus 3 makes no difference. In real world uses, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. These are going to be capped by so many other bottlenecks that it doesn't matter. And if there is a small performance difference, if I'm dropping like 500 gig, or if I'm transferring 500 gigabytes worth of files, I'm already walking away from the computer. A Gen 4 drive is not going to be that much faster where I'm going to be willing to sit and watch it transfer. But yeah, I got a 2 terabyte drive for $70, which is crazy. There's cheaper ones than this, but Oh, let's see. In the deals section of the Discord server, which by the way, if you have not joined yet, link to the Discord server is down in the description. You can catch me there, but we also try to post deals and stuff like that. Mod Kevin No has been at it with the deals, but yeah, he did post this one. So let's open this one up. So this one is for, again, so you're gonna be paying what, a $30 price difference, but you do get Adobe stuff, I guess. But this is for Samsung if for whatever reason you are like a very brand loyal person, or if you're going for just slightly faster speeds or better warranty, better, longer, read write endurance, durability, I guess. But yeah, just across the board, SSDs and I guess system memory is so cheap. You can get a Team Group MP33 for $65. Not that much of a price difference between these two. But I got this one because I believe this one does have a dedicated DRAM cache, whereas this one does not. Shane Eslick went with the Team Group for his newest one. They have very good lifespan specs. Yeah, I mean, most SSDs, most SSDs, so long as you're not buying it from some, like, I've never heard of this Ashada brand, but they probably get components and stuff from the same companies that make some of these other stuff. But like, Fanzyang, I don't know if this is a quality SSD, but most SSDs, their rated endurance is gonna be way more than their like useful lifespan. Think about the hard drives that you still have running now that still work, spinning hard drives. Did you ever use up the entire rated lifespan, or did you already replace it with SSDs because they just became irrelevant after a while? Same thing with SSDs. The prices are dropping fast enough, and the capacity is increasing fast enough where if you spend $65 on one of these right here, you're likely going to be replacing it in 4 to 5 years time, which is definitely, it's likely to last that long, if not longer. So I never try to look at a drive and expect it to last 10 years or something. I expect maybe to use it for 3, 4, maybe 5 years. By that point, I know there's going to be 8 to 16 terabyte drives that I'm going to be wanting to put in my systems anyway. So yes, RCalled 2000. The 670p is supported by Solidigm Synergy software, because I know this because not only was Solidigm a sponsor in one of my recent videos, is because I also talked about Solidigm they acquired Intel's SSD and NAND division, and they took the 670p, which I have right here. They took the 670p and they rebranded it essentially to the P41 or P41 Plus. So yeah, it's the same drives, different branding now, for the most part. So yeah, good point that you brought that up. Shane Essex says, I still use the HDD for archive. The new M.2s are for editing, so lots of writing. Even with the lots of writing though, if you, let me see. Do I have Crystal Disk Info to pull up here? Man, we are already 2 hours in the stream. I feel like we have talked a lot. Okay, let's see. Look at my SSD power on hours. What is this one? Okay. Can I share the screen? We're gonna not show the calculator anymore. We're gonna show Crystal Disk Info. So here's Crystal Disk Info for one of my drives. It's a 1 terabyte drive. Okay, what are the on hours of this? If I were to calculate, let me see. On hours. 10,519 divided by 24 hours. This would be the equivalent, This would be the equivalent of keeping my PC on for 438 days straight, or like 1.5-ish years or so, without ever turning it off. So we look at my read and write on it. I've written 13 terabytes on it, it looks like, and then I've read 13 terabytes and almost written 10 terabytes. So, and this is, how long have I had this SSD? Given that it's been on straight for a year, I must have had this for at least 2 or 3 years by this point. So yeah, if you look at how much you could read and write to these drives, it's nowhere near this amount. Like, it is well beyond this. So you're good for the most part on most drives. Which one is this? SHG. Let me look this up. I don't even remember what drive this is. Oh, this is my SK Hynix one. Okay, yeah, so this is actually a 2.5-inch drive that I have in my system. If Nobe shows us an Nvidia M.2, speaking of NVMe drives, NVMe SSD in a GPU, that's something that, let me see. Where is it at? Come on. At 4060 Ti, was it? Here. This is like a concept model of a card. But graphics cards that give you more expansion, which, I mean, this is really cool, right? Like, for the most part, like some really budget motherboards only have one NVMe or M.2 slot. Most motherboards have like 2. If you get to the more premium brands, I think you can get up to like 3 or something like that. But you're pretty limited, right? 2 drives, that's not a ton if you're, for whatever reason, needing more space to archive things, or if you have a huge games library or whatever. So being able to get an additional M.2 slot by way of your graphics card, this is pretty cool. I don't know if this will ever actually become like a, you know, widely available to consumers, and I don't know if how much this is going to cost extra, but I think people would happily pay like $20-$30 extra to add another slot on their motherboard, which, you know, they couldn't have gotten otherwise, and the only way to get more is to completely buy a new motherboard. $30 is a cheaper option for that, if that's what the premium costs to get this on there. I don't know, but yeah, this is pretty cool to see. 4060 Ti with the M.2. Yeah, ITX motherboards are pretty limited also with how much drives that they can, or like expansion that they can have for drives. And if you put an ITX case, you may not have room for a bunch of other hard drives. So yeah, those are the situations where any little bit of extra that you can get for storage helps out. Yeah, so this, I mean, this isn't brand new. I think this has been shown before, but I think the last time it was shown, let me see. NVMe drive on GPU. The last time I remember seeing it, I think was something like this. Why does the GPU... I think it was more like a workstation card, right? What was Anthony showing? Yeah, so it wasn't on like... It wasn't seen previously on like consumer like level piece of hardware, I guess. So, I mean, this actually doesn't surprise me. I'm sure there's like industry use cases for this, or like professional workstation use cases, but to see it on something like a 4060 Ti, which is something that, you know, normal gamers would buy at a reasonable price, I think that's what makes it more like interesting. Exactly, Bundy. Yep. Solidyne is the former Intel storage division. Same engineers and everything. Yep. And Wendo from Level 1 Tech. He did when he reviewed the P41 Plus. I think he went over all of that. Yeah. Yes. So, well, the cooling for this one, it looks like. Wait, is that put on backwards? Why would they not just flip it around? So let me see. I actually. Okay, so like here is a SSD, right? So then you have your backside of. Come on, the backside of the PCB, which I guess it doesn't. It doesn't want to zoom in now. Why? Why? If I put my hand up here. But yeah, so if you wanted to put like a heatsink on this, because SSDs do get really hot from time to time, like if you wanted to put like a hefty heatsink on it, normally you would put it on the side where all like the NAND chips are and stuff like that. So in this example, this looks like a single-sided PCB. So I don't see any like memory chips or anything on here. So I would, it looks like it's mounted on upside down, right? So that the NAND chips are on the side facing the graphics card. And those are the components that need to be cooled. And SSDs can throttle when they get too hot. So this kind of, yeah, this doesn't make sense. If it was flipped around the other way, then you could put a big heatsink like this on it, and then you could use the passive cooling from your case to cool it down. But here, it looks like all your airflow is limited because not even the fans from the graphics cards is pushing to it because the graphics card PCB is in the way. So I don't know why they didn't just make this connector flipped around so that you could expose like the memory chips. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Hey, check my Matt's in the house. Yeah, actually, I guess I can't. Do they have a actual picture of it? Wait, what? This picture doesn't make sense because here the PCB looks, unless there's a big cutout behind it that we can't see. But I would have thought, let's zoom in here. Can I zoom in? You gonna let me zoom in? No? Okay, let me open it in a new tab so I can hopefully zoom in. So just by looking at this blurry picture here, I thought the PCB went up, like, it looks like it extends to here. So if it went straight down, then it would be covering it. But looking at this other picture, what Matt was saying, looking at it here, so this would definitely be cooled. It is straight up attached to the heatsink. Let me see. That's not enough pictures. So yeah, it's a cutout. So if you do have the cutout and this is the side that we care about and it actually ends up touching this, then yeah, it is cooled with it. Then I guess we're good. Actually, no, Matt, you were right. You were right, Matt. Yeah, the cutout, which is why they showed it attached to this. So if that's the case, then cooling's not an issue. And this is actually very cool. Which, by the way, me and Matt, we DM'd a little bit about it, but Matt was also one of the other people who didn't have, like, wasn't completely negative. Which, Matt, how was your comment section, by the way? I haven't had a chance to look through it completely, but did you get as much negative comments as, like, either Craft Computing or myself on your 4060 build video? Also, was your entire video shot and edited prior to everything else being released, or did you have some time to like modify your script based on the reception that you were seeing, the early reception of people? That's cool. Straight to the fin stack, yeah. And then, yeah, of course, you gotta use the anime seed crystal disk info and crystal disk mark for is this like any character from something, or is this a generic anime character? Is there an easy way to tell if your NVMe has DRAM on it, like especially when you're buying online? You have to, okay, The only way that I've known is to go to this SSD spreadsheet by Numax, and I'll link it here for you guys. So this spreadsheet, so this was put together by Numax, who's like a very like renowned SSD. I would call him an expert from Reddit. So this has every SSD model for the most part you can think of. Maybe they have to like add it if there's a new one, so it might not have it right off the bat. But if you go to here, you can look up DRAM. There's a column that says DRAM, and it'll tell you which drives have and which drives do not have DRAM. This is pretty much the source that I use to find that out, because a lot of the times SSDs, like in their product shots, they have stickers and stuff on them. First of all, they won't even tell you if it has DRAM or not in the product specs, whether it be on like the Newegg or Amazon page or on the official website of the SSD company itself. They, for whatever reason, want to hide whether or not it has DRAM. But even when you look at the product shots, you can't visually see it because they have their little stickers on it that block it anyways. So this spreadsheet, bookmark this, use this as a reference if you ever need to find out more information about SSDs. It has pretty much everything you need to know, or at least all the most important information. So yeah. The link is up above. I'll link it again. Can I pin this? Let me pin this. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a PSU tier list. I think there's a SSD tier list. So let's take a look at that. So if we take a look at the SSD tier list, like Linus Tech Tips, if you go to the forum, there is an SSD tier list, but let me see low end. Yeah, they just kind of rank them without. Is there a spreadsheet tied to this too? On solid state drives, Control F is your best friend. Review hidden content. Yeah, so the thing about the LTT forum SSD tier list is that I think you just have to take the information blind. They don't tell you much about it. Like, I mean, I would assume all the S and A tiers have DRAM, but when you start getting into the budget tier, let's see where the 670 is. Intel 670p is tier D. Oh my god. Again with these tier lists. This is a mid-range part of the tier list, but it's tier D. Most of the time on these types of tier lists, tier D is like low end or bad, but this is mid-range. So be careful when you are looking through information like this. Understand what they're trying to say. And yeah, the 670p I got is considered mid-end here. If we look on here though, let's see, 670p. So Intel 670p, I got it in the 2TB variant. And let's see, it does have DRAM. There's no host memory buffer. It's QLC, 144 layer. Yeah, all the good stuff, all the good information here. So hopefully that's a good source that you guys can use. Because yeah, knowledge is power. PNY is a perfectly good brand. Okay, so Matt says, comments were mostly reasonable. Script was written before release, but I edited slightly after seeing some initial coverage. I don't like the 4060, just don't think it's e-waste. I agree with you there. I think calling it e-waste is a little bit extreme. I think underwhelming or mid, or not mid, but underwhelming or like meh is how I would respond to that card. Kale130 says, seems like SSDs would be hard to place on tiers. So, the tier list, I don't even think, do they tell us how this is all broken down? Let me see. Let me read this. Replacing components. Oh yeah, so that's one thing you need to be aware of. Manufacturers do, for the same exact SKU and product, like the initial ones they release, they get good reviews on them, and then they start cheaping out on some of the components and stuff like that. So be aware of that. That can happen with any company, but This guide differentiates SSDs in different tiers based on their sustained writes, controllers, NAND types. What is DWPD? Oh, wait. Using terabytes. Drive writes per day. Okay. So they do it based on that, but it looks like they didn't mention whether or not it has DRAM. They didn't mention whether or not it has different like ways of caching to improve speeds, like SLC caching. They don't mention. So the NAND type is pretty important because SLC is a premium. Oh, and then what's it called? So it's SLC, MLC, TLC, and QLC. But yeah, so this they may not think DRAM is important. I don't know. Okay, we are 2 hours and 10 minutes into stream. We have covered a lot today. I'm gonna have fun doing the timestamps of this. But now, I'm gonna spend the last 10 or so minutes hanging out with chat because I have pulled up the browser pretty much all night tonight. Hell Tides? Yo. I saw the comment earlier, but I didn't pull it up. Someone said, we want more Diablo streams. Right now in Diablo, I'm level 87, I believe. It's kind of hard to be motivated to play Diablo right now because seasons are, I think, 2-ish weeks away. So season 1 is 2 weeks away, which means I'm gonna have to start a new character. And in Diablo, once you hit level like 60 or 65, you could pretty much start getting the best endgame gear. So from 65 to like right now, in the 20 levels, there hasn't been much gear progression for me because I started getting most of my best gear like 15, 20 levels ago. So now I've been playing, but all the drops are like, you know, Diablo 99% crap. I haven't been getting upgrades, so it's kind of demotivating. Plus, I'm going to start a new character in like 2 weeks. So, yeah. That's my thoughts about Diablo now. I am excited for seasons. I'm excited to start a new character in a new class, but I haven't been pumped. I like kind of pumped the brakes on my Diablo 4 playing. When it first came out, I swear I put like 20 to 30 hours the first week or two, and then it's been slowly tapering off since then. Definitely not doing WoW streams. So I haven't raided in WoW for the last, I don't know, month and a half. Ever since the guild I was in pretty much fell apart. Jason was in the same guild. He knows. He stopped raiding too. But yeah, no motivation to play WoW just because I'm waiting to play 10-man content with a specific group of people who are not all available right now to play. I think I'm done with 25-man content for Wrath of the Lich King Classic. Yeah, it's just too time consuming. WoW, when I started playing it, was very time consuming, and it did take away from other games I was playing and like me putting out YouTube content. I think I had some gaps in some of those weeks there when I was playing WoW too much. Shane Eslick says, just a question about Diablo. Can PC players play with Nintendo players? Diablo 4 isn't on the Switch, is it? But it is on PS5 and Xbox. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't look like it's on Nintendo Switch. But I get what you're saying. Can Diablo PC players play with console players? Yes, there's cross-platform. You can play with different platforms and consoles. Was them guy says, I haven't been motivated for Diablo because of disconnects, and then I heard Diablo 4 was online only as well. Yes, so Diablo 4 being online only is very annoying because they had server issues. They got DDoS like just within this last week. The game was down for I think like 16 or something hours, and it was just people couldn't play it. You bought this game and then you can't play it because the servers are down. They need to come up with a solution where you could play offline and then the server can authenticate that you didn't hack or something and sync your data online. That would be the solution, but I don't know. I don't know, man. Blizzard is an indie company. They don't make that much money. There's like, what, a team of like 3 people or something. They can't afford to do that, so it's understandable. That was sarcasm, by the way, if you didn't catch that. PC Tech also says, I'm back to grinding Heroic++. That's that beta protocol thingy, right? To get the Old War loots. In WoW Classic? Yeah, so I have a small group of friends, which is basically Jason Whitmer and his Texas crew that I play WoW with. And I think they've been doing that, but I don't know. Ever since our guild crumbled and we basically got taken over... It was a takeover, basically. Ever since that happened, I just had like a bad taste in my mouth with regards to WoW. I'm sure I'm gonna start doing 10-man stuff once, you know, the rest of our raid team is ready to go, but I'm not like dying to play WoW right now, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think the biggest problem with Diablo 4 right now is the loot drop problem. Anyone you ask, they can all come together and agree. Look on Reddit, look on Twitter, look on the official Diablo 4 forums. People are complaining about the loot. The loot, not just like the super rare Shaco rare drop items, 1 in a trillion or whatever. Even just like the itemization is so bad because there's so many stats that could potentially roll. Plus, rolling for gear is ridiculously expensive. Sipanzi Bob Dreadnought. Sorry if I just butchered your name. I already talked about AMD restricting studios to only FSR. The conclusion of that is we don't have 100% confirmation that they're doing that. Maybe Bethesda should speak up and confirm whether or not that's the case. But also, I don't really care because at least FSR is available for every card that exists. It's not like they're taking away resolution scaling from everybody. You still have the option, it's just you don't have DLSS. So Nvidia fanboys are gonna cry about it, but they can still use FSR, which is available to them. And then people are gonna say FSR is not as good as DLSS, but that's kind of a subjective thing. Didn't Hardware Unboxed do a comparison about it? And that's just one person's opinion on it, right? But I think Hardware Unboxed said that it actually wasn't like as big of a difference in image quality between the two as the community makes it out to be. So if Bethesda wants to use DLSS, they should be able to, no matter what AMD says. Yeah, I mean, I think that's true, right? Like, I'm trying to think of what are other AMD... Isn't there I'm not going to pull it up, but there's like this spreadsheet or this table that keeps track of every AMD sponsored title and whether or not it has DLSS, and every Nvidia sponsored title and whether or not it has FSR. And I think there has been AMD titles that does have DLSS, right? So it's not like it's impossible, or like it's never been done, so we'll see. I prefer to wait on the information instead of speculating and drumming up drama. Jedi Survivor doesn't have DLSS. Well, I wasn't talking about Jedi Survivor, but let me see. I don't even know if this is accurate. Here's from PC Gaming Wiki. List of games that support high fidelity upscaling. So if we look down this list, we can see like there are games with FSR only. Let me zoom in more because you probably can't see this. A Chinese ghost story, never heard of that, but there are games with that. But then there are games with DLSS only. Now, in terms of which ones of these are Nvidia versus AMD sponsored, I'm not sure. But yeah, there's plenty of games with only DLSS and no FSR. So why people are complaining, I don't really know. Maybe it's because supposedly AMD is like blocking it, but who are you to say that any of these games didn't block FSR in favor of DLSS because of Nvidia? We could also speculate on that too if you guys want, and then we could make Nvidia look like the bad guy. But yeah, I don't know. It's not that big of a deal to me. I'll just use FSR if my card sucks to the point where I need to use, you know, upscaling. Ransack says, RuneScape is my favorite MMO. Ooh, I can get the appeal of RuneScape. I just can't personally play it myself. I get why people like RuneScape. It is kind of an OG game. It was free. And I think community in it made it a big thing. A lot of things about these games is that they have good communities. A game that has like crappy gameplay or crappy graphics but a good community can still be enjoyable compared to a game with good gameplay and good, especially when it comes to MMOs. But if it's good graphics and good gameplay but a toxic, horrible community, then it's gonna be a bad experience. Like Cyberpunk was Nvidia. Yeah, Cyberpunk does have everything. What else has so Hogwarts Legacy, I don't know if it was sponsored by anybody, but that also has all three. So I don't know. I don't know how much of it that it's the developers have a say in it versus the sponsor. If AMD wasn't blocking it, they would say so. Or, here's my tinfoil hat theory. You ready for it? AMD is just choosing to stay silent on purpose. So that after all these people are crying and making a huge deal out of it, they're going to come out and say, we never blocked it. That was Bethesda's choice. And it's going to make everybody look stupid. That's my tinfoil hat theory. They're just sitting in silence right now, and then they're just gonna drop it after, you know, everything is all done and said, and people already took their stance and assumptions. But we'll see. I think that would be hilarious, but we might never know. Yeah, see, and then so here's another speculation because I didn't see the Moore's Law is dead thing, but Baka says, I believe Moore's Law is dead said the developer didn't want DLSS. They already put effort into FSR. So if this ends up being the case, are all the people who cried over it and are blaming AMD, are they gonna apologize and walk back on their statements? Or are they just gonna sweep it under the rug and move the goalpost and come up with another excuse to justify, you know, their outrage? I don't know. We'll see. I didn't watch the Moore's Law is dead thing though, but I think that's totally feasible. AMD isn't that smart to do that. We'll see. FSR had to be in it for the console. Yeah, that's a good point. Because consoles aren't as powerful. Yeah. Or are they gonna blame the Starfield studio and gonna hype it, and when things go a little bad, they pin it on Starfield? Yeah, man, I don't know. People are just always looking for something to be mad about or something to blame. Like, I get it. You're passionate about, you know, we're all PC gamers here, or PC builders, or hardware enthusiasts, whatever. I get being passionate about things. But at the end of the day, you still need to be, like, reasonable. And you need to be objective on things. Going off of assumptions or just, like, coming up with a narrative that does not, or that supports or doesn't support what you believe and getting mad over it. I don't know. It's all Nvidia's fault. They didn't pay Bethesda enough. Exactly. Baka says, but I think AMD PR department just has taken the L. Yeah. I'm curious in this next week. Maybe we can revisit on next week's stream. I'm curious to see if it becomes the official statement that Bethesda only wanted to focus on FSR because it needed to be for console and because they started working on it first. Oh man, reading the Reddit threads and Twitter and stuff like that, that's gonna be juicy. I'm just waiting for a war of pettiness from Lisa and Jensen. Here's the thing though, so they're kind of related, right? Lisa and Jensen, either through marriage or through like grandparents or great-grandparents or something like that, they are somehow related to one another. But have they ever thrown shade at one another? They've thrown shade at each other's companies, but as individuals and as people, I don't think I've seen them throw shade at each other. Like they've made comments about like, oh, like VRAM is important or something. So that's throwing shade at Nvidia for not giving more VRAM. But them two, it's not like the beef that you see from other CEOs like Elon Musk wanting to get into a cage fighting match with Mark Zuckerberg. It's not like to that level. Elon's freaking crazy, man. He just calls anybody out. Yeah, that's funny because in real Asian families, not saying that Lisa and Jensen aren't real, but in Asian families, throwing shade and talking crap is like such a common thing. But I've never seen the two Asian CEOs do that about one another, at least publicly or in interviews. But yeah. I want a double KO on Zuck and Elon. Dude, okay. Last poll before we end the stream because we are getting into 2.5 hours of stream now. Who would win in an MMA match between the Zuck and Elon? I already have my answer. I'm very confident in my answer. But anyone who does not say Zuck is delusional. It's not even about the jiu-jitsu thing either. Well, okay, it's a little bit about the jiu-jitsu thing. But like having an untrained person versus even a white belt, the skill difference there is so huge. You learn so much within the first belt in jiu-jitsu. And it's not like Zuck is just a beginner either. Yeah, sure, he won in the white belt division, but he was going against other people who may have been training for just as long or even longer, especially if it's like a tournament ladder, right? The best people make it to the end typically. But Zuck's younger, he's also in way better shape. Elon, I don't think he has mass, but mass can only get you so far if you're gonna gas out early. And Elon does not look like he is in the shape to last more than half of a round, to be honest. Okay, let's go with this. Elon Musk shirtless. This is gonna affect my searches pretty badly, but I mean, Elon is a very massy person. If he never mind, his arms are kind of small compared to like his torso. Like I don't see much power being generated by those arms and shoulders. But let's look at Mark Zuckerberg shirtless. I don't think Mark is okay, maybe he is more fit. This is AI, this is fake. This is also AI. Can we get a real Mark Zuckerberg? Okay, I think this is a real picture. But he definitely, I think, is more fit. I wonder what the weight difference between the two is. The one lad says, I've been a coach and competitor for about 2 decades now in martial arts and legit watch Zuck fight. He has actual talent for a lizard. He has actual talent for a lizard. Musk has nothing except, what is that? Ozempic? Oh, let's see. Is it anti-diabetic medication used for treatment of type 2 diabetes? Give me a Zuck versus Elon. Yeah, I mean, apparently they're just talking it up to get attention. They're never gonna do this because Zuck would win like 99 times out of 100. Even though Dana White did offer them the platform in the UFC. Of course, Andrew Tate versus Zuck. Andrew Tate's gonna win. Andrew Tate, as much as people don't like him, and I personally don't like him, Andrew Tate actually like kickboxed, has like a lot of matches under his belt, was a champion for some time, and is freaking ripped. And yeah, Andrew Tate would win, no problems asked. But alright, that's gonna wrap it up for this stream. This was a very fun stream. Glad you all could make it. Hopefully, in terms of my RTX 4060 review, I was able to further expand on my conclusions of it. And, you know, go through some of what, as a content creator, I went through the very tame responses. I didn't even get to the one that I showed on the thumbnail where someone called me an effing shill. But yeah. Hopefully this was a fun stream for you all. We had pretty great discussions. It was very, very chatty throughout the entire night. So, thank you all for making the streams really easy to host and, you know, making it a fun time for everyone who comes every single Wednesday night. But, in terms of upcoming content, I do have some more testing with the 4060 that I am doing with regards to the PCIe Gen 3 versus Gen 4. This weekend's video is going to be a case review, more in-depth look at that DIY PC 011 dynamic clone and my thoughts on it. And then, yeah, LTX is what, 3-ish weeks away. I still have a LAN party story to get out. So lots of stuff coming up in this, you know, as we wrap up and get through the summer. But for now, that's going to be it for tonight. So hope you all had a great 4th of July for those who celebrated it. Hope you all had a great evening. Have a great rest of the week coming up and have a great weekend when it gets here. I'll see you guys in the comments of the next video and or stream. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.